if you look at priests in the church, they always wear those big collars, and they wear those big collars because they think that demons are going to come and attack them in the back of the neck. If you see what we do on our group healings, we run frequency in through the back of the neck. And what we do is we give people a biological upgrade. So we download code, positive code, which strips out all the old programming, whether that programming is some kind of mental issue, whether it's some kind of tumor, some kind of neurological issue, whatever it might be. We'll download new code, wipe out the old programming, but we run it in through the back of the neck. It's an open portal, and it's where most people are hacked. Most people are hacked through the back of the neck because the back of the neck leads up into the pineal gland. Inside the pineal gland, you've got the master cell, you've got access to every cell. So the back of the neck is a very vulnerable point, and it's just wide open for every human.
Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. Today we are talking with an incredible individual. His name is Jerry Sargeant. Jerry is the visionary founder of Star Magic Healing and a renowned frequency healer. Jerry is known for his ability to facilitate profound transformations by tapping into the holographic blueprint of human existence. If that sounds far out, it is. In this conversation, we go deep into the concept that our reality is indeed a matrix. We discuss who wrote the code and how humanity can finally hack the system by restoring its original crystalline blueprint. Jerry shares with me powerful first-hand accounts of his training on Alpha Centauri and under the Giza pyramids, unveiling the shocking truth behind energetic hacking, including the back of the neck as a vulnerable portal. Finally, he offers a powerful and profound message on why true ascension requires the courage of the heart, not fear. You guys are going to love this cat as much as I do. I'm so excited to share this podcast with you. Sit back and enjoy. So let's jump right into it, brother, because I have so many questions, and I know that our time is a bit limited due to our schedules. But so scientists now admit that reality might be a simulation, or at least some of them are starting to admit it. Other ones are trying to write articles to debunk it, I noticed. But you've spoken a lot about how it's not just a theory, it's a lived experience. So if this is really the matrix, who wrote the code, and how can we get people to wake up to it?
Oh man, what a question to start this off.
There's a big one for you to lob out.
Who wrote the code? That depends on what your perspective is and your perception on it all, we all come from one universal intelligence. And that universal intelligence is the code that operates the whole system. People call it God, the universe, infinite intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
There are many
Source.
names and labels for it. Source code. But as that source code has expanded, like from its original nature, other things have emanated out from it. Other beings, other intelligences, extraterrestrials, beings that are created from mathematical code. There are and physical humans, which are not mostly space anyway. But we seem physical in this lower dimensional reality field. But ultimately, all of this code, it goes back to the original creator, which we call God, the universe. But then, if you start breaking it down and you look at all the different systems, we're inside a multidimensional time matrix with multiple dimensions, trillions of planets and stars and fields of frequency on so many different levels.
Yeah.
And within all of that, there are different beings that have created different structures. So it depends on where we're looking at it from. We can go all the way back and take a huge kind of like macro look at the whole universal template or multi-universal template, because this 15th dimensional time matrix that we're living and playing the game of life in is not the only one. There are many, 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 many of them. It's infinite, eternal, goes on and on. It goes in and it goes out. It breathes in and out of space-time. And so if we're looking at just our planet, our world, over the course of billions of years, this planetary environment that we're in has dropped its density, and we find ourselves now inside what we would call Metatron's cube. It's a cube structure, And within that cube structure, you've got so many different ways of looking at that, because I look at this as a game. It is like a simulation, like we're
Mm-hmm.
down here in this construct and we've got to find our way home. And finding our way home is back to our hut.
Mm-hmm.
Also, finding our way home is finding our way back to the stars, because that's where we originally came from. But we don't need to go to the stars to become whole. We don't need to go to the stars to become a fully activated 12-strand angelic human temple.
Right.
We can do that right here, right now. But we're inside a game that is pitted against us. Like this game is like a training ground. Like if you go back through, eons and eons and billions and trillions of years, like you have these creator beings that are thousands of feet tall,
Mm-hmm.
thousands of meters tall, and these creator beings create universes. And what we're doing down here on planet Earth is remembering and restoring our original code, to remember that we are these creator beings. We're fractals of these creator beings. But when we return to our original template, we're going to have the ability to
Mm-hmm.
communicate telepathically, bilocate, use telekinesis, levitation, phase out of this physical reality and into another physical reality, which I've done in the Giza Pyramid twice now, where we
Wow.
have these abilities, to activate our vibrational field to such a specific mathematical equation that we can do whatever we want to do. But we've been conditioned to believe that we're these small little humans that have to go to school, get a job, get a mortgage, hopefully pay it off by the time we're 55, 60, 65 years old, and maybe get a few cheap package holidays for the rest of our life, just to, ride
Yeah.
out our last remaining years. But nothing could be further from the truth. We're
No.
so powerful. And my mission is to help people find that power. I mean, this is kind of like a really kind of like, this question is so vast. I'm just giving you like a sort of like a slither, I suppose, of where we could go with it.
It
But
is. It is a huge
yeah,
question. No, I love what you said, man, because the whole thing is it's a great big con that's been thrust upon humanity by over the course of a millennia, in a myriad of ways, which, if you had a few years, you could break down, for the rest of mankind in a way that would show how health and debt and, the awareness of self and the soul and everything has been perverted in a way that makes us, completely confused about who we are, what we're doing here, and how to live a happy life, essentially. And that's not an accident. That's not a misunderstanding. It's a miseducation, which is deliberate by some of these, whatever you want to call them, these powers that be or shouldn't be, who want to keep us in a control system and doing the work that they want done that keeps them in that control system. So it's like we're on a hamster wheel. Most people don't realize it, but Tasha was telling me, she told me to ask you about the real flower of life. So I wanted to ask you about that, and she told me I should show you my tattoos, which I have a lot of geometry, and I don't know if you can see it.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and then I water crystal, Dr. Emoto's water crystal here. But she
Amazing.
said ask him about the real flower of life.
Yeah, I mean, a friend of mine's just published a book, and he's gone into the real mathematics that nobody's talking about. And if you look at the real crystal flower of life, it's got 7 petals, and it's the
Hmm.
seventh petal that helps the flower breathe. It's the in breath and the out breath, the magnetic and the electrical energy moving up and down the central column of the human, the central pillar of the earth, the central column of the Cathara grid of our whole universal template. Most people, they're wearing, badges or necklaces, or they've got cups and, you know, jewelry with the false flower of life.
Right.
And the false flower of life has 6 petals, and the false flower of life, it has it's connected to the Fibonacci sequence, and the rotational spin out from the 0 point is 60 degrees. And
Right.
because it's spirals at 60 degrees, it entropies as it gets further away from the 0 point, and it has no connection. And the real flower of life, the real crystalline flower of life, which is connected to the crystalline mathematics, spirals out at a 45-degree rotation. So that spiral will keep bringing itself back into its source point. It's connected to source, the 0 point, infinite intelligence. So that frequency, as it spirals out, it doesn't entropy, but the Fibonacci mathematics and the flower of life will entropy. And there's no breath. Like the flower of life looks great. It's a static 2D image.
Yeah.
And even if you turn it into a third dimensional image, it still doesn't have a seventh petal and it can't breathe. But the crystalline flower of life has that seventh petal, and it's linked to a whole different set of mathematics. The reason that people can't see or find or catch this original blueprint when they're looking into it, even people that know about the crystalline mathematics and the real flower of life, don't understand the real code. The real code is in a different dimensional field, and people are looking at the right set of maths in the wrong dimensional field. What actually happened about a year and a half, 2 years ago, a guy that was in our tribe, he was doing our meditations, and his wife came to our training. And in our training, I give away a very specific code. And this specific code activates your fifth dimensional light body. And this is the code that you need to activate your mathematics to start doing Stargate travel and stuff. Anyway, he got this code and he deciphered it. And I mean, I knew this code and I knew what this code did, but I never understood it at a level of maths this guy put together. This guy's a genius. And he worked on black widow spiders on their DNA for many years. And he discovered on the belly of a female black widow is a red hourglass. And this red hourglass links into Nikola Tesla's technology. It links into pyramids. It links into this new set of crystalline mathematics. But you've got to link it in and then switch the dimensional field to understand it. So when I gave him this R44RX3 code, he broke it down and understood it. And that enabled him to open up a different dimension, take his mathematics into it, and then start coding the space from a different perspective. And he's worked out all of this stuff now. And he's written a book on it. And it just got published 2 weeks ago. It's incredible.
That's amazing. What's the name of it?
You know what? Let me just...
Okay.
It's a long name.
Oh,
I'm going to just grab it for you now, and you can post it up and let people know
yeah,
about it.
definitely. That sounds incredible.
It's called the 363 code, but then it's called the
363
363 code, Tesla's geometry, the Isis breath, and the return of Osiris. That's what it looks like.
Oh, that's awesome. That looks really cool.
And so, like, a circle isn't 360 degrees; it's 363. But we were given a protractor, we were given a compass, we were given a pencil and told it was 360. So we had the circle and the tools to measure it, and the only way we could measure it is 360 because that's what we were given, and that's the tools we had to measure it.
Right.
A square is not 4 lots of 90 degrees. An equilateral triangle is not 3 lots of 60. So he's figured it's all in the book, but like this stuff is mind blowing.
Right.
What this guy helps me understand is why star magic works. Like I was given loads of codes when I got taken in a spaceship in 2009 to Alpha Centauri, met my Lyran family, and had a big download in this pyramid. I came back to Earth and I spent 9 months in mystery schools underneath the pyramids, in classrooms, understanding these codes from a level.
Right.
I was told what the codes were, what the codes did, and I started using them and they were working. But I never really understood the deep fundamentals of why this mathematics worked. But this guy has helped me understand now why it works from a whole other level. And now it's unlocked another piece in me. And so the two of us are kind of bouncing backwards and forwards, just unlocking so much wisdom. It's beautiful. Yeah, it's so exciting, man.
That's incredible. So now I got to ask you about, like, listen, there's been maybe 2 or 3 people who I've heard speak about their time taking off world to, Alpha Centauri or Andromeda, who I'm like, absolutely every word is sincere. Like I believe them. Of course I know it's possible. Of course I know it's happened, but few people have, been willing to speak about it. I would love to hear a little bit about your time, visiting your celestial family, if you will, in the Lyran, and how that came about. Like if you were physically taken off board, or if your light body was taken off board. I know a lot of abductions tend to be non-physical, which doesn't take away from how valid they are, but some of them are physical. I'm wondering what kind you experienced.
Yeah. So just to give a bit of a backstory, when I started my spiritual journey, I met a lady
Hmm.
who worked for Scotland Yard in the psychic division solving crimes, and she had a past life regression business. And she became my spiritual teacher for a number of years, and she taught me how to remote view, how to bring my light out of my body and travel, how to get information from the other side, all these different skills. And what happened is in 2009, my family and I moved to New Zealand, and I met a gentleman who taught me how to meditate. I'd never meditated in my life up until this point. I was like,
Wait, how
meditate.
old? How old are you?
So this was 2009.
Oh, okay,
So
okay, yeah.
yeah, I was 30 or 30
That's a game
something.
changer, isn't it? My God,
Yeah, yeah.
meditation changes everything. Yeah,
I'd seen it, but I didn't really know much about it, and I was like, I
yeah.
can't sit still and do this kind of stuff.
That was how I was too. I was like, I don't have
Yeah,
time for this shit. I can't sit still. Yeah, no. Talk
yeah.
about
So anyway,
putting.
I
Yeah.
got this guy had a copper pyramid in his garden, and we set up a mixed martial arts gym in New Zealand. We were training like lots of strength and power athletes, training fighters, and it was cool. But I used to go around this guy's house every day after the gym and sit in this pyramid, and like, he taught me to meditate with my eyes open. And I had
Wow.
loads of different amazing experiences in this pyramid. But
Wow.
one day, I'm meditating with my eyes open, and a little space pod comes and lands in the garden. I call it a space pod because it was small, and there was a blue being inside of it. So I brought my light out of my body. I went and got inside. And for anyone that knows, if you bring your soul and your light out of your body, it's just as real as being inside your body, if
Yeah.
not real. There's density. You've got all of your thoughts, your emotions.
You even got
Uh,
your physical semblance together, right?
it feels exactly like your
Yeah.
physical.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you can move through walls and you can just think a place and be there. So you get this
Hmm.
different, like time just dilates and you can be wherever you want to be. The trickiest part is getting away from your magnetic field because the magnetic field tries to suck you back in. But when you can slow your brain waves down enough and your heart rate down enough, it's easy. So I came out of my body, I jumped in this craft, and we flew through a portal for about 4 or 5 seconds, came
Hmm.
out the other side, and there's like water and a beach. So I get out of the space pod, I walk up the beach, and there's like 200 of these blue beings, and all of them were taller than me.
Hmm.
None of them had like any clothes on, and they all had like 8 packs, like they'd been to the gym, like
Oh,
all of
really?
their
Oh, wow. Okay.
so
That's
fit.
the.
And I was looking at them thinking, man, yeah, these guys are ripped, you know. They had no genitals,
Right.
like they're all androgynous, and they hugged me, and it was a level of love that I've never felt before.
Mm.
And it just blew me to pieces. And I knew I was home. I knew they were my family. And I
Yeah.
knew they were from Lyra. I'd never heard of Lyrans. I knew
Oh.
I was an Alpha Centauri. I'd never heard of Alpha Centauri. This information was just kind of downloaded into me. So anyway, they hugged me for a period of time that I don't know how long it was. And then they stopped hugging me. And one of them led me up the beach and through a jungle. And they took me to this like plasma pyramid. It was like made of light, and I went inside, and at the back of the pyramid was this like really ancient Lyran. And the way I describe it to people, it's like imagine you went to a Native American reservation and you had to meet a Native American elder. That's what it
Mm.
was like.
Yeah.
Like this Lyran was old. Like it didn't look really old, but you could just tell it was ancient. And it asked me to kneel down on the floor, and all of this orange light started pouring into my
Mm.
crown, and it was full of this geometry, but it wasn't like the geometry with straight edges like you get here on Earth. It was spirals of geometrical code that kept moving and shifting, and it was just downloading into me. I don't know how long I was there for, but it seemed like ages, but it seemed like no time at all at the same time. As soon as it finished, two of them picked me up underneath my arms and frog marched me back to this space pod, stuck me inside. I flew back through the tunnel and back
Mm.
into the garden. And this is where I got the original kind of download from. And then there's a whole other kind of story after that to start in Star Magic. But
Wow.
I've had many experiences like this. I was writing a book in 2015 called The Vortex of Consciousness. I
Mm.
never ever published it because I was told not to publish it.
Oh,
It wasn't right. But I was writing the book and I was sat on my laptop and I fell through the computer just out of
wow.
nowhere.
Wow.
And I was on a bridge and the bridge had grass and it was like little stone walls and there was water either side, like it was over a river. And I walked up this kind of open grassy plain and there were loads of beings and there were children. They looked humanoid. They had these halos of light around their head and these beams of light coming out their pineal gland, and they were hovering in the space. They were chucking balls of energy to each other. And I
Mhm.
went to this castle up on the right hand side, and I went in and I met this being called Gian Treva, who had this long golden hair down to the floor, and she took me to meet a wizard. And I was in this like classroom with a wizard, watching him teach all these like children, if you can call them that, these
Yeah,
beings, star kids from another space, and teaching them how to do all these cool things. And
that's crazy. That's cool.
it was a planet called Bevricon, and I spoke about it on a YouTube video or a couple of YouTube videos, and I'd never ever heard of it. And then, and I was told it was in the Arcturian system. And
Hmm.
then a few years later, a guy contacted me who'd been taken in his dream time physically to Bevricon to
Hmm.
meet his Arcturian family,
Nice.
and he was there for 2 weeks in their time, but only a night in human time.
Hmm.
And they gave him a little fluorite octahedron crystal, and he gave it to me as a present.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and this guy used to work in the RAF for the military, and he got grounded because he kept having extraterrestrial experiences. They put him into the Star Wars project.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
before it was sold to the American government as HARP, and he worked in anti-gravity and all this. So I had some amazing conversations with that
Wow,
guy.
I
But he gave
bet, man.
it confirmed to me, like, this place Bevricon was real, you know?
Yeah, but that's incredible, and the fact that he had the credentials that he did is just it's mind blowing that he was being contacted, and it's so it's crazy because I've had I've always been, because my mission has been a heart opening mission in every way that's possible for a human being who found himself with a completely closed down heart center, for all those other crazy reasons that most people end up shutting down that emotional center. That's the most important one. you know, Through that mission, I have connected with and been, become akin to an Arcturian family above, I know there's a lot of different um, races and species and civilizations out there who, have some kind of claim to to be our progenitors. Arcturians being, I think, one of them, and certainly part of the people who are trying to usher us through this tough time we're going through, and who have been here. But it's not a coincidence that you're talking about a world that happens to be near the Arcturus, and your friend. It's so cool how everything comes full circle. Whenever I'm talking to a guest, there's always a million synchronicities, half of which I'll never know about, but even the ones that come out are incredible.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Okay. So if reality can be coded, then can it also be hacked? We have this very prevalent fear going on, and a lot of movement, that's happening, that gives people a little bit of trepidation about being hacked.
Yeah, and
Speaking of HARP.
this is such a good question. It can be hacked in so many different ways, and it can be
Mm.
hacked positively and negatively. I was working with a guy. He was a very famous DJ, and he started having these crazy thoughts in his head,
Mm.
and someone was talking to him inside his head, and it was someone high up in a kind of, what's the best word to describe it, an undercover police department in Europe, that was tapping into people's biological computers, their body and brains, with a
What?
real computer to send them a little bit crazy and get them addicted to pornography.
Wow.
Yeah, so the brain can be hacked in that way through a real computer system, because our body and brain literally is a computer system. I was working with a guy that was actually had a porn addiction,
Yeah.
And he was on a porn site, and he went into this little side room where there was some really disgusting things happening.
Mm.
Anyway, he comes off this porn site that night at 10 p.m. A satellite comes around his apartment block. He was in Singapore or somewhere,
Yeah.
and it starts tapping into the back of his neck. And I'll talk about the back of the neck in a minute because it's a very important
Uh-huh.
piece of the puzzle. But this satellite was affecting him. When he went into the porn site and went into this side room, he downloaded some codes, and it changed his internal system. Every night when he went to bed, he was in some kind of like matrix system where he was like in a white room, and all his worst nightmares would be in there. There was no door out, and he was getting chased all night, and he couldn't sleep. And every night there would be some kind of different scenario, which was like a nightmare that he couldn't get out of. And he started researching it. He found a doctor that was talking about these programs online. And he reached out to the doctor and said, "Listen, can you help me?" And the doctor said, "The best thing you can do is get a shotgun, put it in your mouth, and blow your own head off."
Oh
And
my
and I
God.
was like, "Are you serious?" And he showed me the message. Anyway, it took me about 6 months of working with him to defrag his system and
Mm.
change his code back. It doesn't always take that long, but this was one of the hardest cases that I've ever had to deal with. The back of the
Wow.
neck, if you look at priests in the church, they always wear those big collars, and they wear those big collars because they think that demons are going to come and attack them in the back of the neck. If you see what we do on our group healings, we run frequency in through the back of the neck. And what we do is we give people a biological upgrade. So we download code, positive code, which strips out all the old programming, whether that programming is some kind of mental issue, whether it's some kind of tumor, some kind of neurological issue, whatever it might be. We'll download new code, wipe out the old programming, but we run it in through the back of the neck. It's an open portal, and it's where most people are hacked. Most people are hacked through the back of the neck because the back of the neck leads up into the pineal gland. Inside the pineal gland, you've got the master cell, you've got access to every cell. So the back of the neck is a very vulnerable point, and it's just wide open for every human. And if you've not got your grids up and you've not got your seals in place, then you're going to be hacked left, right, and center. Through our Merkaba field, we get hacked. Through the back of our neck, we get hacked. And yeah, the system can be hacked is the short answer.
So people are going to say, well, okay, so how do I keep my grids up? How do I keep protected from this? How do I keep what's the practices I can do?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways. If you want to just, let's talk about something simple that everybody can use. So you get a chromium octahedron and you visualize it around your body and you
Hmm.
rotate it clockwise.
Like a
If any,
Merkaba.
no,
Yeah.
an octahedron is like two pyramids stuck
Oh,
together,
okay. Okay.
basically. So you have that around, you'd have it around the outside of your Merkaba field. And so you'd spin this clockwise, and then if any energies came into the space, they're going to get deflected off it. You'd also fill the inside of this chromium octahedron with a chromium frequency.
Mm.
On the outside of that, you'd put an inverted chromium pyramid. On the outside of that, a cube, then a sphere. And you spin them all clockwise and fill them all full of chromium light. And what anything that comes through your space is not gonna be, it's gonna get deflected. If it makes it through the sphere, it'll get caught in the cube. If it makes through the cube, it'll get caught in the inverted pyramid. It's highly likely it's ever going to make it that far. That's a very simple grid, and your intention and your heart frequency flowing through it is going to determine the strength of that grid, because it all comes down to intention. Like every human being has to understand or understand that they are the most powerful human on earth, the most
Hmm.
powerful in the multiverse. Psychic warfare is rife. There are
Yep.
multidimensional beings out in the space right now trying to dismantle humanity, disrupt humans, play around with our energy, siphon our energy. It's a
Hmm.
galactic battle that's been going on for billions of years. And if you're not aware of it, I can pretty much guarantee on some level that you're
Yeah.
being siphoned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And if you are aware of it, you've got to just do what you need to do to make sure that your space is clear. And everybody has the power to do that.
That's right. I use meditation, visualizations. I'm constantly clearing. I had a friend once tell me that they were asking, I don't a psychic or like a witch doctor about me, and when because they were curious what they would see, and the woman said, "I can't see anything. He's protected." And I said, that's right, because I know how to protect myself. And you should learn too. Like it's real. People don't understand. We're bombarded. So if you're not doing the work and making sure that you are walking around with your, I hesitate to say shields because I don't want to promote any kind of fear mongering, but it's a protection. You're protecting yourself against a great many things, and it's healthy. It's not like when you eat certain foods, you're protected against certain energy drains and different symptoms that could develop from whatever. It's the same thing. It's just spiritual. I think anyway.
Yeah, I think what's really important to chuck in, like just what you just touched upon about fear, like we're not putting our grids up because we're fearful. We're putting our grids up because we're intelligent. Just like you're not going to go and eat fluoride or brush your teeth with
Right.
fluoride
Well, some
because
people still do.
form,
Yeah.
you know? Like it's being intelligent. Everything we do is from a space of intelligence because we want to be high frequency beings, live in our highest timeline, putting out a good signal and leading by example. It's not because we're scared, it's because we're intelligent. And everybody has to operate from that space.
Yeah, that's for sure. They really do. Um, so you said danger is real, but fear is a choice. Speaking of fear, how do we tell the difference between the two in a world that is flooded with anxiety, outrage, news, and we have AI, we have massive instability. To look out into what's happening is not so pretty of a sight.
Yeah, I mean, my son was walking down an alleyway a few years ago. It was his birthday, and I bought him a blue Staffordshire Bull Terrier for his birthday, a little dog. And he was out walking it at 11 o'clock at night. I was actually in a music studio in Los
Hmm.
Angeles recording a rap song, and I got a phone call, and he just landed through the front door after being involved. There was I think 3 or 4 lads about 21 years old. He was like 15 at the time, and he had a big puffer jacket on, and they got a Stanley knife and they slashed him from his throat to his belly. Luckily, he had this big thick jacket on, but he pulled the dog's chain off, had the dog in one hand, and he smashed him over the face with the chain in the other hand. I mean, and he got
Wow.
away from that situation,
Hmm.
and that's danger. That danger
Yeah,
is
that's
real.
danger.
It's a physical situation. There's also energetic danger
Hmm.
because yeah, it is and it isn't danger. It is danger if you don't have your grids up and you don't have high levels of self-awareness. There is a danger out there because your energy can be siphoned, your energy can be used for other things. But fear is a choice. I can be in that situation like my
Right.
son was, and I can stay absolutely calm.
Right.
Okay, so the danger
Absolutely.
is real, but the fear is a choice. Am I going to get scared? I know that if I get scared, I'm going to become unclear and I'm not going to be able to make sensible decisions. And to be clear and take off the dog's chain so you've got a weapon to smash them over the face to get away from that situation is a very sensible thing to do in that situation. He
Right.
had to
Of
put
course.
himself
Yeah.
time because these guys were bigger than him, older than him, faster than him. And he had a dog to manage as well, which was a puppy that can't run very fast. So danger is real in that situation, but fear is a choice. And in every single given situation on planet Earth, we get to choose love or fear.
That's
And
right.
they're both on the same spectrum of emotion, they're just at different ends. And what we have to do is to train ourselves to be calm. We have to
That's right.
breathe deeply. If we bounce around in our head where there's a 0.25-second window between stimulus and response, so people often react. And in a
Hmm.
dangerous situation, they're going to get sucked into the fear and they're going to be no good to anybody. It's like when you call the emergency services, they're like, hello, please tell me your location. What's your name? They're like ever so calm. They're not like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God,
Right.
where are I? They're not panicking. Otherwise, they're going to create more chaos in the situation. So we
That's
as
right.
humans, when we breathe deeply and we breathe consciously and we live from the space of the body and the heart, we create space between us and our external environment. And when things happen in our external environment, we can respond instead of react. And that response is everything.
That's
Because
right.
most of the time, I think, actually, I don't even need to respond to this. It's a waste of time. But when you're bouncing around in your head, it all seems like it's like on top of you and chaotic and it's bad or this or that. There's judgment involved and the ego takes control.
Yes, it does.
We lose our shit basically.
That's right. And, I always say, Neil Donald Walsh told me, fear is false evidence appearing real. And in a very true sense, besides the biological programs that we have inherited with this DNA, fear is an illusion, because your consciousness, your soul, your mortality is an illusion. You can't end. The one thing humans fear most, the one way that they take away our sovereignty, keep us, locked inside, make us do the craziest things, is this fear, of our mortal security, so to speak. And that's an illusion, because this is just the dream. We're not going anywhere. We can't. And so it's wild to me how confused our human family is about what we are and what we're doing here, and why we have given away our sovereignty over fear. It's mind blowing.
People believe that other people are more powerful than them, or
Yeah.
the government or the system or the police or whoever it may be can harm them or hurt them or do something to them. Like you were saying, locked up in COVID, I traveled all the time.
Right.
I remember going to Heathrow Airport one time, and they wanted me to put a mask to get on the plane, and I said no. And I was actually flying from England to Romania, and I was the last person on the plane and the only one without a mask. And I
Hmm.
walked down the aisle, and everybody's masked up like this, and they're all looking at
Right.
me like a lion that's just escaped from the zoo.
Yeah.
I find it was I just find it funny. I just laughed at the whole situation. So bizarre, the indoctrination, but it's a spiritual, psychological psyops, and people buy
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah, they totally do. So, you would you rather have on your team? This is such a silly question, but I'm going to ask it anyway for my listeners. Angels or aliens?
It depends on the angel, and it depends on the alien. For me on my team's like the SAS. They're like the Navy SEALs.
Right.
They all honor extreme ownership. They're all fit, they're all healthy, they live the Star
Mhm.
Magic lifestyle. And I know if I'm going into battle that I can count on every single one of them.
Right.
Like we have a list of requirements to get into our team. You got to be able to run a mile in a certain time. You got to be able to deadlift,
Hmm.
squat, bench press your body weight. You got to be able to do so many pull-ups. You've got to do breath work. You got to be able to speak light language. There's all these different
I love that.
parameters that
Yeah.
come into our team. You know, like this is something that really kind of like offends a lot of people, but I'm not really bothered about that
Yeah.
because it's the truth, like I heard someone else say this and it smashed me around the face like a sledgehammer. Like never trust a fat person. And when I first heard it, I was like, hmm. And I listened to the whole conversation that they had, and they were saying a fat person lies to themselves every single day.
Right.
They know that they shouldn't be eating the stuff that they're eating. They know that they should be going to the gym or exercising and doing something to look after their mind, body, and soul in a better way, but they choose not to do it. So
Hmm.
they kid themselves and they lie to themselves every day. And if they're going to lie to themselves, you think they're going to tell you the truth?
Same with any addict. Same with anybody who can't control
Anyway,
themselves. That's it.
drugs, porn,
That doesn't
coffee.
matter. Compulsivity is the bane of this human's society and existence, particularly in America, because we get screwed up at childhood. We come up with all these maladaptive, trauma based programs which helped us survive when we were kids, but have created this vast array of compulsive, biochemical, addictive behaviors. And that's the program we're running. We can try to keep this going and try to keep this relationship going, try to keep this job going. But in the end, if you don't work those out, you're going to fucking destroy everything you set up for yourself. And I've seen it happen over and over and over. And I've been witness to and experienced it in myself in many, many ways. And so it's like there's a lot of validity to what you're saying, as offensive as it may seem to our politically correct audience. But we're speaking more so in a metaphorical and metaphysical sense, I think. Not just like, oh, someone's overweight and that means they're a liar. But the general concept is that if you're lying to yourself on a daily basis and you can't control that, then should we trust you? I don't
It,
know.
it can, if you take it even further as well, like it's not just about like this addiction thing. It's about
Hmm.
addiction, but it's not the kind of addiction that people would really think about too much. But addiction to pain. Like someone may be in a relationship and they're addicted to the chemicals that get released in the body every time the husband beats them, or they're addicted to the level of the feeling that they get when the chemicals are released when their business partner betrays them. Like people are addicted to all sorts of different things. And so we have to, operate, which you kind of put out earlier, like this level of sovereignty.
Hmm.
This level of sovereignty means getting rid of every single addiction. It means that you do not need any single tiny little thing from your external environment. And that includes another man or woman. That
Right.
includes your business. That includes everything. You have to be so in alignment. You have to have so much clarity and presence and trust in your own alchemical makeup of who you are at the core of your being, that you just know who you are. You
Right.
don't believe in yourself. You don't believe in anyone else. You
You
don't
don't
believe
have
in
to, you know.
just know. Knowing trumps believing every single time. When you know who you are, you want for nothing. And when you
Absolutely.
want for nothing, you move into a state of wholeness. And by default, everything starts to move into your reality.
That's right. That's so true. I talk about it all the time, Jerry. You're speaking my language, brother. It's huge. The difference between belief and knowing is enormous. It's enormous. But the level of power that comes with one as opposed to the other is also enormous. So it's like, if you ask me if I can get up right now, I'm not going to be like, I believe I can. No, I'm going to say I know I can because I do. And you can extrapolate that signal that I'm putting out to the universe across everything, that all your affirmations, the way that you wrap your mind around them. Everyone stays in hope and belief, and hope is beautiful and is powerful, and so is belief, and it's a stepping stone, but it has to get to knowledge, and from that knowledge is great wisdom. That's my experience. That's what I've learned and experienced. And it's just I just encouraging people who are listening to try and close the gap. Keep closing that gap between belief and knowledge, belief and knowing, because it's everything. It ends up being everything.
For me, I always liken hope to gambling.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like you're gonna go get $50, $100, stick it on red or black. That's like
Yeah.
hoping. But knowers, they don't gamble. They don't hope. They
No.
know. So they just decide. They just choose. And they command and demand their reality. It's like people going to church and praying. Who
Right.
you praying to? All you need to do, because you're God's infinite intelligence in your own heart space. You got your
Right.
God spark in every cell in your body. So just command the signal. Command your reality.
Hmm.
And then boom, that's it. You don't have to ask. If you ask, you're hoping. If
That's
you
right.
hope, you pray and you
Hope is a
gamble.
beggar.
Yeah, hope beggars hope, man. Hope.
Hope is a
Yeah,
beggar. I
100%. I couldn't
had
agree more. You
one of
know?
my favorite people told me that, and I was like, "Damn, you're right." I couldn't believe it. It is a beggar. I mean, listen, I'm not saying it's not beautiful. I've looked at the molecular structure of the word hope, but I think maybe that's also the feeling behind it more so than the word. You know, um, Hope is important. Hope is sometimes all people have, but it's only a starting point. You got to move beyond hope if you want things to change in your physical reality, because you'll just hope yourself into an early grave or a very unhappy existence, one or the other. Um,
Yeah, like hope can conjure up some nice feelings, which
yeah,
might give you a glimmer of something that it can get better.
right.
But the problem is, if people are hoping, they're hoping on something that may happen in the future that usually is governed and dependent on something that someone else is going to do. So again, they're in victim mode and putting their hand into
That's right.
they're like their future in someone else's doing, and that's handing your power over, and that's just dangerous. We
That's
have to
right.
realize no one's coming to save us. It's on us. In your reality, it's on you. In my reality, it's on me. And whoever's listening right now, it's on you in your reality.
Absolutely. The sooner people stop looking to the heavens for the second coming and the Messiah and Messiah, whatever name they have for they think someone's going to come and clean up this fucking mess we made. I'm just like, go into the mirror, slap yourself in the face, okay? Now look at see what you see? That's the only one who's coming from the sky or anywhere else to save you is you. Stop imagining that there is going to be a Messiah. There is not going to be any Messiah. We are our own Messiahs. We are our own saviors. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't love Jesus Christ. And I'm not saying he may never be back, but he ain't going to come back the way people think he's going to come back if he does come back. You know, like it's just, he's not going to, he's going to come back here and clean everything up, you know, and separate. It's so childish. It's so ridiculous to imagine. Like, I don't know.
I feel if he comes back, he's just going to kick us all up the ass and say, "What are you guys doing?"
Yeah.
You know, I gave you some skills so you could use them and get yourself out of this mess. But all you've done is look at to come back and help you, you know?
Yeah. And hide the skills as best you can. But so let's see. Do you think that, so a lot of people talk about this idea that consciousness itself is rising. And I believe this. I do. I always tell people, like, if you're like, I'm not sure if consciousness is rising, just look at technology, look at the level of philosophy and thought that has, been acquired over the past 200 years. And also, like, if you go to watch a movie that was made in like 1965, it's really hard to watch because the consciousness with which it was written, it's like long past. That people don't talk like that. People don't think like that. It's like you're watching, like, you're like, oh God, like it does not resonate, you know, and that's because consciousness is elevating, it's rising, I think. And I'm wondering, like, do you think that our ascension as a race is inevitable, or do you think that there's a possibility that we end up with another like flood or cataclysm and we're forced to reboot again?
You know what, isn't it? It's a question with just different answers. I mean, the positive part of me, it knows that ascension is taking place right now. And I know that humanity, maybe all of humanity, maybe certain parts of humanity are going to rise onto a higher timeline and create heaven on earth once again and return earth to this kind of golden diamond, whatever you want to call it, age. Consciousness is definitely expanding and rising. And you know, we live in a world of polarity. So as consciousness rises, the darker side of the game, the lower vibrational side of the game, pulls out more tricks.
Right.
And one of those tricks is AI.
Yeah.
And so many people have given themselves over to it now. I mean, we use it in our business. Don't get me wrong. We can use it to be more productive, but we don't take away the human element. We use it to speed certain processes up, but still make sure that we don't hand our power over it and let it tell us what to do. We use it and tell it what we want it to do. But there are many people that are thinking, believing, feeling that AI is God. AI
omnipotence.
Yeah, nothing could be further from the truth. And, you know, I just have to look at what was mentioned earlier about this guy that's wrote all of this mathematical code. This mathematical code is the truth.
Yeah.
Why is it that other people out there with their own AI chats that everybody knows who they are, there are quite a few of them now that have got their own AI chats and they're talking about mathematics and code and saying that this mathematics and this code is the truth. Why is it that why are their chat GPTs not spitting out the real mathematics that's just been published? Because their chat GPT is plugged into a level of consciousness, which is the level of consciousness of the human. And this human hasn't yet understood this level of mathematics. So the chat GPT can only spit out what it is that human being understands, knows, or believes, or whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
But there are other laws. And so I was in Poland like 8 weeks ago, and I went in dark retreat. I sat in the dark for a week.
Oh, wow.
And it was awesome, man. I had a great experience.
How long did you sit for?
How long did I sleep for?
Or sit for.
Oh, sit for.
Because it was a dark retreat, right?
I was there for a week, and I sat in the dark for 4 days. 4 days. Yeah. And like at one point in there, I think it might have been on the third day, the fourth day, it was coming to the end, and I was just getting these downloads on AI, and I was asking, show me what's going to happen with AI.
Mm-hmm.
And like when I was in this dark retreat, it wasn't dark, man. My pineal gland was on fire, and the whole
Oh, I
place was
bet.
lit. Like I
Yeah.
was lying on my bed. At the end of my bed, there was a veranda, there was a palm tree, there was water. I was watching the sunset. It was amazing. But this one time, I'm asking about AI, and I see the whole planet, and I see all these prison camps,
Mm.
and I see all of these robots putting humans into the prison camps. And I'm asking, how long away is this? And I'm told 10 to 15 years. It's not
Mm.
far. And I've told this to a couple of people, and people are like, Jerry, why are you being so negative? Why are you coping space with all this negative
All
talk?
right.
But that's part of this love and light brigade spiritual community that
Yeah.
don't want to spread
Spiritual
the real.
bypassing.
Yeah, at the end of the day, man, this stuff is a potential. And so
Mm-hmm.
what we need to do is to get together and realize that we have to take control back ourselves. We are the original AI.
Yes.
Humans are the most
That's right.
powerful computer systems on Earth, and AI cannot make us any more powerful.
Mm-mm.
We've just got to remember how to activate our 12-strand blueprint, activate our original crystalline code, and these right brains will fire up that can process billions of bits of data plus per second. These feminine brains are incredible, but
That's right.
most of us are locked in this crappy male part of our brain that sees things in
L-
patterns and
Logical, analytical,
logical,
you
reads
know.
between the lines, stacks things on shelves. It sees the code in a linear format and not expansive and free like the right brain.
Right.
So, we are the original AI, but we're handing ourselves over to a false AI.
That's right.
And
That's
this is the danger. And so the reason I'm bringing this up is because I truly know that ascension is taking place right now. But I also see many different avenues that humanity is going down, which are going to trip us up. And it
mm-hmm.
will send some people down a path of no return.
Yeah.
It'll send some people down the garden path for a little while and they'll pull themselves back.
Right.
Some people want to go down that garden path and they'll just be on the elevation journey. It just depends. Everybody's different. And I
Mm.
truly feel as well that the timelines have split. And some people are on another timeline. They're not going to jump off it. They're going to ride that 3D timeline into chaos and mayhem. And there are
Mm.
other people, 5, 6, 7D timeline, and they're just going to elevate and live from unity consciousness, love consciousness,
Yeah.
fusion consciousness at the higher levels of the game.
Yeah. When you start to realize just how nuanced and infinitely layered reality is, and how there's no limit to what can be. People are like, oh well, there's going to be two timelines. There's probably going to be a multitude of timelines. Why wouldn't there be? There has every capacity to be. And those people who are in a certain state, of understanding of this incredible gift we've been given, and of service to others, while remaining in integrity with themselves, those people are going to follow down a certain timeline. And the people who are, more reptilian, male brain, patriarchy, hoarding territory, debt, slaves, they're going to follow that down. That's going to be a different existence for them. And the two don't necessarily need to happen, nor will they probably happen in the same world. There's the creator has no limits in the source code it can create for its beings. And I just think people are we're limited, and we're supposed to be, because we're in this physical body and we have these brains, and there's a point to that. I understand that, but I do believe that we are transitioning, and that the people who are of a certain vibration and dimension, we're going to end up in a different place than the people who just aren't interested, at least in this lifetime, in it. I don't know. That's my opinion as well.
Yeah, I concur, I mean, we've all got choices,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
it all
True.
depends on where we're at mentally, emotionally, physically, psychologically, energetically. The choices we make will determine, where we end up, where we
Yeah.
travel.
Yeah.
And those choices we can shift those choices at any time.
Yep.
We really are in a hologram, like you were saying earlier, and we can recreate reality at the drop of a hat
Yes, we can.
in a very
Like
positive or
that. Like that.
just like that.
People don't understand how fast everything can change. Literally, your worst nightmares can become your dream come true like that. If you are willing to remain in the know, even against every physical sense telling you, well, this isn't, you failed, it hasn't worked. If some part of you can hold on to what you have created, what is coming your way, then it can change like this, and it has, and it will continue to. It's so fucking incredible and magical. Excuse my French. So let me do, Jerry, where have you been, man? We are like brothers from another mother. We are speaking the same language, man, and the path you've been down is incredible. But um, I know I think I've heard you speak before, and I can't remember where. I think you were at like a biohacking conference, or I don't know. Do you ever do biohacking conference? Or am I crazy?
I've not been to
Okay. What
a
about
biohack.
conscious?
No.
No, not Conscious Life Expo. Shit, I can't remember. But I could have
I've
sworn that
spoken
I.
at different expos and different things,
Yeah,
and
I
yeah.
I, I know. I think I saw you in person once. I just can't remember where. I've been to a bunch of them myself. But let's do some quick fire questions. We'll see how fast we can fire them off. Okay. Um, Technology, evolution or invasion?
Evolution. Evolution.
Evolution, right?
Yeah.
Um, does every soul survive forever, eternally?
Absolutely.
Is love the code or is love the hack?
Both.
That's my answer as well. And how do we stay heart centered in a world that's been built, at least in illusion, around fear?
By choosing you every single day and forgetting about the rest of the outside world. Choose to look in the mirror and absolutely love the living daylights out of yourself every single second of every day. Choose you, choose what makes you happy, choose what fills you with joy, and just don't give a flying you know what about anyone
Yeah.
else.
I love that answer, man. I love that answer. That's my promo clip right there for this whole podcast. It's so fucking important that people hear what you just said. It is the ultimate, antithesis to what this world would like you to be and to remain a slave to is every day choosing yourself. And it's not selfish to choose self-love. In fact, the only way that you can truly be present with others is if you are putting yourself first and taking care of yourself. I tell people that all the time, but they get confused about what's selfish and what's not, and they think that if they're living and doing everything for everyone all day, every day, it's somehow noble, that they're not going to end up miserable, filled with resentment. And I'm just like, you already are miserable, filled with resentment. What you're doing is not working. It's not making you happy. So maybe it's time for a shift. I don't know. Oh man. But
Serve
okay.
yourself, fill up your own teacup,
That's right. Put your own mask on first. What do they say in the planes? Um so you talk a lot of we've discussed a little bit of geometry, and the Merkaba and the grid, but I know your friend just wrote that book, which I'm excited about. But really, it's not just shapes and numbers at all. It has everything to do with consciousness, doesn't it?
It's all consciousness. Consciousness creates the numbers. Consciousness creates the patterns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back to source, back to the 0 point, I mean, there was just primal creation energy, which was dark, and out from that darkness came the light.
Mm-hmm.
Light didn't come first. People say, "Well, we go back to the light, go back to the light." Nah, man, the light is a stepping stone. We got to be brave enough to go back into the darkness, back to that primordial void, back to that ancient energy where there was nothing. That is the womb creation, divine feminine, beyond the feminine. And out from that 0 point, came duplication. The
Yeah.
force created itself and duplicated itself and then created itself again to create the Holy Trinity. And that was the first kind of piece of mathematics that was ever created, which was the equilateral triangle. then that doubled and doubled to create the tetrahedron, it doubled to create the Merkaba field, and so on. And so, the mathematics, the geometry, the code, it came out from something that was nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing got bored and started creating, and then it created for millions of years, and everything was beautiful, but then it started to create not from the original code. And that's where the distortion came in, and that's where negativity and darkness and evil and whatever you want to call it came in, because the numbers got shifted, the patterns got shifted. And that's the world that we find ourselves in today, a polaristic world. I mean, this is the toughest training ground in the galaxy, in the universe. They don't let anyone come to Earth. You've got to be a highly trained soul to get a shot at coming down here and trying to find your way back home.
Right.
Going through the military and then going to Navy SEALs or the SAS.
Right.
You've got to be selected. They don't just let anybody.
That's right. They're not just, it has to be a soul that has really probably already proven itself and, capable of handling this kind of dense and incredibly polarizing environment. People don't realize that. But one of the reasons why we're all here is to work that out, is to integrate and evolve and heal. And that's, most of us have had many, many lifetimes, and many of us will have many, many more, and, on this planet or the next. So it's like, it's an amazing thing, this game we're at. It's the best game in town, I think. I wouldn't want it any other way. So you mentioned the pineal gland in your darkness meditation. So I'm that is on my list. I'm definitely looking to do a darkness retreat. I've done plant ceremonies, and I know what happens during a darkness retreat, or at least I've heard what happens to people, and I'm very interested in experiencing it. But so the center of everything, the pineal gland, right? In spite of what science says, it's not just for making melatonin, is it? Can you talk a little about that?
For me, the pineal gland is a stargate. It's you got all those tiny little calcite crystals in the brain. When you do certain pieces of breath work, when you meditate, when you activate it through breath work, qigong, certain ancient practices, which we utilize a lot in star magic, but we don't do it like everyone else. We bring frequency code, light language, different energetic signatures in through our qigong, in through our breathwork, which no one else on the planet's doing. And that's why we achieve the results that we do, like people getting up from wheelchairs, people's eyesight coming back in 3-4 hours, because of the frequency that we bring in with these ancient physical practices. So when you apply pressure to the pineal gland, squeezes these calcite crystals, and then waves of energy flow out from it and contract and expand and contract, and it starts to create a field that allows you as a human to pick up data from the field, and you start to transduce this information so that it comes in code, and then our pineal gland reads it, and we get some kind of internal knowing or some kind of visual or some kind of message. And so the pineal gland's like a receiver, but the pineal gland also opens up this field, and it's like a portal opens in the brain, and then you can move that portal out into the universe and travel wherever you want to go to. Same with the heart and the pineal gland are both stargates. If you bring your consciousness into your heart and travel, the whole universe opens up. There's nowhere actually to travel. When I was in 1st of April this year, I hired the whole Giza pyramid for myself. We do a tour every year, like 89 people. Yeah, of Egypt, 16 days. We're also starting Peru next year as well.
Nice.
But this Egypt trip just gone. It was the second time I hired the whole pyramid for myself. I went in the dark, and I collapsed my body into light, and this portal appears above me. And the human brain makes you think that you're going up through a portal to another galaxy. I went to the Andromedan galaxy, but even saying I went to the Andromedan galaxy isn't correct, because what actually happens is my consciousness and this gateway, they infuse with each other in the same space. And then I am in the Andromedan galaxy, and it seems that you're going through a gateway to another place, but really the place is already around you. You're just switching dimensional fields, and then your operation in that dimensional field. And so there's never anywhere to travel, there's nowhere to come from. All you're doing is just shifting dimensional fields and getting access to something that's around you all the time, 24/7, 5.
I want to go to Egypt with you, man. When's the next trip?
Come next March, man. Come along.
Next March.
It's an amazing trip, man.
Oh, I would love to, dude. That sounds incredible.
We got meditations, activations.
I love it.
For 7 days. It's beautiful.
It's my kind of trip. I'm definitely going to be looking into that, man. So I love the way you talk, man. And you have such your message is really a gift, and your teachings and everything you're doing is just on another level. So what would you say to my listeners who, are still looking for something, but they're not quite sure what, but sometimes, a sentence or a paragraph of words is like, it's enough to give them a slight paradigm shift and keep them looking in the right direction. I'm wondering what you would share with my audience.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I love you all, and I mean that from all of my heart. Secondly, I used to be a criminal. I used to smuggle drugs, guns for a living. I used to be involved in high-profile bank fraud. I used to think all of this stuff that us two have talked about today was complete mumbo jumbo.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't used to do any of it. I thought it was for crazy people. And now I'm sitting here talking about it with my brother. And I travel the world helping people heal. And many other things that we do too. And it was so far removed from me 15 years ago, but now it's my whole life. Now, how have I got to this space? By being brave enough to go in here. All of my mates thought I was crazy. All of my mates thought that I should be locked up and put in a straitjacket. All of my old circles just faded away, and I had to go solo until I found my real family. And now I've found my real family, but I only found my real family by going inside of myself, changing my own frequency, and then being on a resonance that enabled my real family to find me, or me to find them, or us to find each other.
Yeah.
So the journey of the heart is the journey of the brave. Most people will tell you that the journey of the heart is for the weak. But no, I'm telling you now from experience, not just me working on myself, but working with hundreds and thousands of people all over the planet, that going in here is the toughest journey that you'll ever take. It's the most rewarding journey that you'll ever take. And it's the only journey to take.
That is right.
Like, find out who you really are as a human. So I would just say, be brave, meditate, do your breath work, eat clean, do the things that are going to bring you into a high vibration, and just keep being still in here, and you're going to discover so much. So much. More than the textbook could ever tell you.
So much more. I got goosebumps all over, man. You just hit the nail so perfectly on the head. I appreciate your time, Jerry. Listen, we'll have to do it again when we have a little more time. There's so much stuff we could talk about, man. And I would love to do we could go live together on IG one day and just talk about some of these things. I think I know my Instagram following they would love that. This is the conversations they love and thrive on. And so, it would be awesome. We could intermingle and share followers. But dude, I love you. I love the work you're doing. I'm so glad that we had this talk. We'll do it again. We'll try to set it up maybe one day when you're in the States. You can come in studio. I'd love to sit down with you and talk at length in my studio here. That'd be amazing.
I'm all in, brother. Thank you so much for inviting me on. Thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome, Jerry. Thank you so much, bro. I will be in touch when this is going to come out. We'll let you and Tasha know and all that.
100%.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. For everyone listening on YouTube, or watching on YouTube, I should say, don't forget to subscribe. If you enjoyed Jerry and I's conversation, drop us a comment. That helps the algorithms. We're usually talking about massively suppressed topics. This conversation has been, I think, a little more algorithmically friendly, but Spotify, iTunes, guys, please don't forget to drop us a couple stars if you enjoyed the podcast, and please share this wherever you can. We're trying to grow and trying to overcome a lot of algorithmic suppression from the powers that shouldn't be. And we love you and we appreciate you. Jerry, thanks again, brother. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you, brother.
Peace, brother.